So guys, when I'm doing this haircut, obviously he has a lot of hair. So I use a comb that has like wide teeth. I feel like if you start off with some width in the teeth, you know, this will make it easier to flow really thick hair going through it. We're gonna brush this out according to this crown here. You can see this is where his hair spins out from. And since he is gonna wear like a forward style, kind of more like a fringe, since this is gonna be a full deconstruction, it's gonna be important to section off the hair. Now you can see here we have like a natural split where this hair wants to grow this way and this way. Now, we can take this here and start sectioning off the hair according to the natural growth pattern. So we have a natural split up there, we have a crown here in the back, we have a whole nother natural split right there. So we're gonna split this away too. Now, obviously, these partings are not even, these partings are not perfect. This is important to remember because not everybody has a perfect head shape, right? So the thing is, look, his hair naturally splits here, but if I were to try to naturally split it over here in the corner where someone else's hair might naturally split, his hair is gonna be fighting against what's natural to it. So if I could take my time, complement the normal hair growth, his haircut is gonna grow so much nicer. So this is a combination of 3 different hairstyles: a taper, a front fringe, and a mullet. So I know I need length in the front, so I'm first gonna worry about this section right here. I'm gonna make sure that I have enough length in the front, and I'm gonna trim it roughly to where it matches with his eyebrow. I'm also gonna bring it in a little bit. Here, my fingers are tight to his scalp, so that way I could do my taper in this area. So we're gonna be setting the parameters. We're gonna be setting the border for this haircut. That's the section that my taper is gonna be in. And now I can elevate my fingers a little bit more so I have some length to work with. Notice I'm no longer tight against the scalp. I'm gonna start flaring outwards, so now we can determine how long we want the back to be. So here we're gonna continue to keep this flared out, but now remember, we're getting closer to the next taper. So now right here, now that I'm getting closer to the ear, I'm gonna start to bring it in a little closer. See, now my fingers are tight to his scalp. Cool, this is gonna be the area for the taper. And now we're gonna flare it back out again, so that way we can preserve the length for the bang, so he can have his front fringe style. I'll take advantage of these lines here. It's gonna be real easy to put my comb in there and pull this section off to the side. And same thing here, I'm gonna choose another line and I'm gonna comb it out. Now this is just so we can isolate. Now I'm gonna elevate that hair. If I can grab that section now that we have isolated, I can pull it out, and then you'll be able to see here the short point at the very top that we've cut. Now we can go in and make our cuts. And we're gonna keep doing this motion all the way around the head, guys. Every time I elevate a vertical section of this hair, I'll be able to match it to the horizontal section of hair that we cut when we did the block graduation to start this haircut. You can see that short point right there, and we're just gonna cut that right off. Doing our best to keep 90-degree angles straight up and down. This whole half has already been trimmed, and you can see just by ruffling it up a little bit, you can see the texture and the layering that's already been cut in. So we're gonna continue that process all the way around. So now that the length at the back has already been established, we already trimmed it a little bit over the ears. Let's take care of this top length. We'll get it blended into the rest of the style, so that way we can focus on our taper. So we're really looking at the same style, right? We're pretty much gonna pull this hair out. I wanna match it right there, because remember, it's not gonna be a slick back. If it was to slick back and he needed extra length, I would pull it out to like here, so you can have that length to go back. But this hair is gonna be flowing forward. So I'm gonna match it up to that initial layer that we cut. And then we'll do a little more layering in this section before we move on to our taper. So now that that fringe has been set, let's do a little bit of blending here in this area. And the best way for me personally to do this, I'm gonna let this hair flow this way, pick a small section, elevate it, and I wanna cut the corner. So I just wanna make sure that all of this can just flow together. You'll be able to see once that hair is elevated, you'll see here, you know, it's going nice and straight there, and there's a certain point where it just elevates a little bit too much. So same thing here, look, right there, cut that corner. Right here, cut that corner. This is a good way to connect the top to the sides. Now the last thing that we're gonna do to be able just to make sure that the top is gonna be fully even. Now remember, we did an uneven part to match the shape of his head, the natural shape of his head and his natural hair growth pattern. So this is the part where you tie it all together. So what this is gonna involve is elevating a few layers of hair, pick it up from the left and from the right. And then you'll be able to see here, short point, cut straight across. Bring it back again. Now we have the short point, and the short point over here, cut it straight across. And then we're gonna move this motion all the way back throughout the whole head. Now we can start to brush it all back into place. And then start to get ready to jump into our taper. Look guys, we're gonna debulk this hair now. So look, we already, you can see the little section that we set in here in the beginning that we're gonna do this taper with, right? So I'm gonna go up with this number 4. And we're just gonna clear out a little bit of space. This isn't gonna be too aggressive of a taper. It's gonna be a low taper. We're just gonna remove a little bit of bulk there and then jump into our normal fading steps. And you guys may already be familiar with that, but if not, I'm gonna break it down for you. So the fading steps that I like to take when I'm doing, whether it's a taper, a high fade, a low fade, it doesn't matter. I have the same approach to every single one of my haircuts. And that starts off here. If it's a skin tight cut, we're gonna start with the clipper all the way closed. The reason that I will go in with the clipper all the way closed is because it's a softer line. The trimmer is gonna put in way too hard of a line for me to take out at the end. It's just gonna give me more work to do at the end of the cut. My next step is gonna be with this half guard. I like the half guard all the way closed, and I'm gonna give myself some space here to blend. Now, since this is a low taper, this is the guideline that I put at the start of where the ear connects to the head. If it's a mid taper, that's usually where I'll put my bald line in at. But look, let's go ahead and put that line in right there. Now our next step, that's gonna be really simple too. We're gonna work on fading out that section that we just put in there. So how do we fade out? From the clipper close to the half guard close. What's the first thing that's just a little bit lower than the half guard close? Is no guard open. So if you start there, no guard open, then you go no guard halfway close, and then you go no guard all the way close with your corners. It'll break through that initial line that you put in, and it's that simple to fade out that panel. We're gonna do it one more time on this side here. Clipper open, and now halfway, and now close right here with the corner. And now we're ready to move on to the next step, which is here with this 1.5 guard now. But we're working with the lever open because I feel like the 1.5 guard with the lever open, you're able to control the gradients of the fade. You're still keeping that area dark, but now once you close it, it starts to lighten up the area just a little bit. So that's the 1.5 guard close. Of course, we're thinking ahead too. What's the next step? What are we gonna do after we take this 1.5 guard open and 1.5 guard close? What's the next level down? Well, we're looking at the 1 guard, right? So here's something for you. Look, take this number 1 guard now. I would just go in with it halfway open. You can definitely go all the way open and then halfway and then all the way closed. Or you can even skip this whole 1 guard. But lately, I'm like, let me try this out. Just gonna go in there with the 1 guard halfway closed. And I think now we're ready to go in with the half guard. Now remember, the initial fading panel that we put in was with the half guard all the way closed. So if I'm starting with this half guard all the way open, and then I'm gonna go down to the halfway mark, what's gonna happen when I make this thing all the way closed? Now when we put it all the way closed, it should match perfectly to the initial guideline that we put in for fading. If it needs any extra detailing, we can do so at the very end once it's styled, but that in essence is how you do a fire taper super efficiently, and you're gonna love how this comes together once we put our lineup in. So look, here we are, half open, half halfway, half closed. We're gonna highlight this edge up right here behind the ear just a little bit. I just want to make sure it's a little crispy right there over the ear, because that further emphasizes the taper and the blurriness of the taper. And you notice I'm following the natural curve of how this hair grows, right? You see this piece of hair is just flowing right off of that edge. Overall, barbering is just art, man. Like, you're literally just trying to create a piece of art on somebody's hair. Now look right here. I want to emphasize this hook right here, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to follow it forward so that way it flows into the bangs. You see right here, let's cut that overhang. Now that flows right there into the bangs. So again, these trimmers right here are the boosted. These ones are the gamma boosted. And I've got this one video, we're pretty much using the whole set, right? We're using the clipper, the trimmer, and the shaver. So if you guys want to get a set like this, use a discount code that's up in the corner and you can save yourself a good amount of money on Gamma's website and Stylecraft's website, whichever one you prefer. They're sister companies. Since the hair did hold on to a lot of moisture still throughout the whole haircut, I'm just gonna go ahead and do my best to blow dry it into place. You know, if you ever need to add volume, this is a good technique here. You can just grip the hair, twist it in the direction that you want the volume to be, and dry it like that. That can add a little bit of volume, a little bit of texture to your trims. But let's go ahead and get the rest of the hair dry, and then we'll do any last minute detailing that we need to. This is especially important because when he first came in, his haircut was doing a bit of a middle part, kind of a flow back. So that's also why the blow drying is important in this case. So yeah, guys, throughout this whole process right here now, just to reduce, you know, he wanted to reduce the intensity of the flare out at the very bottom. So the first step that I'm gonna take, so I think that if we kind of just razor through these edges just to make them a little more wispy, a little less defined, then that should reduce a lot of the weight, a lot of the excess weight that makes the mullet flare out extra in the back. But worst case scenario, we can always pull out some shears and do some point cutting. Just want to keep that natural look, you know, rather than having it like a hard edge in the back. So let's see what this can get us.